Have you ever wondered what truly happens when you decide to simply disappear? Not with anger, not with drama, but with quiet, calculated withdrawal. Do they forget you? Or does the void you leave behind become an echo they can't escape, a haunting reminder of what they took for granted? Here's a thought. Humans are creatures of habit. We rely on the predictable, the accessible, the ever-present. But when that presence suddenly vanishes, the rules change. The once overlooked becomes unforgettable. The familiar transforms into the mysterious. And nothing disrupts the mind like the question, what happened? Why did they leave? Let's face it, most people underestimate the power of absence. They think strength lies in being loud, in chasing, and in explaining themselves. But the Stoics teach us otherwise. They knew that silence, when wielded wisely, could be louder than words. Ignore the opinions of others. Epictetus urged. Act according to your values. And sometimes, the most powerful action is retreat. Today, we'll delve into 12 deep, undeniable psychological responses people experience when they step away. These aren't just surface reactions. They're profound shifts rooted in behavioral and relationship psychology. From the way absence amplifies your value, to the guilt, longing, and self-reflection it ignites, this video will reveal the hidden power of pulling back and reclaiming your space. So, here's your challenge. Think of someone in your life who's felt your absence. Did they forget you, or are they still caught in the ripple effect of your withdrawal? And more importantly, what does this strategy say about your strength, your sense of worth? If these ideas resonate, don't let them stay in the shadows. Hit like, subscribe to Victory Stoic, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this. Let's expand a community of thinkers who understand the subtle art of strength, rooted not in pursuit, but in presence, and yes, even in absence. Are you ready to uncover the truth about what happens when you step back? Let's begin. Number 1. The void and the unease. Human nature abhors uncertainty. We crave structure, predictability, and the assurance that the world around us is steady. So what happens when someone who was once a pillar of stability, someone present in thought, in action, in care, suddenly vanishes without a word? It leaves a gaping void, a disquieting absence that unsettles the mind. Psychologists call this disruption of the cognitive map. People form emotional habits around others. Your presence becomes woven into the fabric of their routine, their expectations, and their sense of normalcy. When you disappear, that fabric tears, leaving them clutching at threads, trying to make sense of the new reality. Imagine walking into your favorite coffee shop, only to find it shuttered without notice. You feel confusion, even frustration. Why is it closed? When will it open again? Do you need to find a new place, or will this one return? In relationships, this sense of uncertainty is magnified 100-fold. Your absence doesn't just remove convenience, it disrupts their emotional equilibrium. Your presence, once taken for granted, now looms large in its absence. They begin to question everything. Why did they leave? Did I do something wrong? What if they're gone for good? This unease isn't just about missing you. It's about losing a sense of control. People hate feeling powerless, and your disappearance is a reminder of just how little control they truly have. Why this matters? This reaction underscores the power of presence, and, paradoxically, the power of absence. When you step away, you force others to confront how much they relied on your energy, your support, or even your mere existence. What was once invisible becomes glaringly obvious. The value of your role in their lives. How this can strengthen you. Reclaim your power. Stepping away reminds both them and you that your worth is not dependent on constant proximity. You're not obligated to always be there. Force reflection. Your absence compels them to evaluate their actions, their priorities, and the ways they may have taken you for granted. Establish boundaries. It reinforces that you have the strength to prioritize yourself, even when it disrupts your comfort. Let's take a relatable example. Perhaps you're always the one checking in on a friend, organizing meetups, and offering support. One day you stop. Not in anger, not with drama, but with quiet intention. Suddenly, they feel the void. The text messages come slower. They wonder why the plans have dried up. And in their unease, they begin to realize just how much effort you put into the relationship, and just how much they took it for granted. In the end, the void you leave isn't just a silence, it's a mirror. It reflects their reliance on you, their missteps, and their need for clarity. And in that space, you gain the upper hand. Not through manipulation, but through the strength to step away and let them confront the unsettling truth of their dependence. Your absence becomes a quiet power, one that commands attention without saying a word. Number 2, endless curiosity. A curiosity, the itch that won't be scratched, the uninvited guest that lingers long after the party ends. When you disappear without a trace, you become a mystery, a cliffhanger in a story they thought they'd already figured out. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect, the human brain's relentless obsession with unfinished business. And oh, how unfinished you've left them. Imagine this. You're watching your favorite TV series, completely engrossed in the plot, when suddenly, BM. The episode ends on a nail-biting cliffhanger. The screen goes dark, and the next episode? Nowhere in sight. You're left pacing your living room, refreshing the streaming app, googling spoilers at 2 a.m., desperate to know what happens next. Your disappearance has the same effect on them. You're the unresolved plot twist they can't stop replaying. Their internal dialogue becomes a swirling storm of whys and what-ifs. Why did they leave? Was it something I said? Something I did? What are they doing now? Have they moved on? Are they happier without me? It's almost poetic. The same person who once ignored your texts or dismissed your efforts is now lying awake at night, haunted by the void you left behind. Their mind spins scenarios, like an overworked screenwriter. Were you offended by their words? Did you meet someone better? Or, and this is the real kicker, are you thriving without them? Picture this. You're the friend who always remembers birthdays, sends thoughtful texts, and plans meetups. But one day, you quietly withdraw. No drama, no explanation, just silence. A week passes. Then 2. Suddenly, your phone lights up. Hey, is everything okay? Haven't heard from you in a while. Oh, now they notice. You smile, sip your coffee, and resist the urge to reply with, "Oh, I've just been busy doing everything I used to do for you, for myself instead." And here's the kicker. The more they wonder, the more invested they become. The very absence they once ignored now becomes a focal point of their attention. You shifted the dynamic without lifting a finger. Why this works in your favor? Power shift. By walking away, you place yourself at the center of their curiosity. You're no longer chasing. They're the ones seeking answers. Emotional impact. Their unanswered questions create a lasting impression. People rarely forget the mysteries that leave them searching for closure. Time for you. While they're busy spiraling in curiosity, you're free to focus on your growth, your goals, and your well-being. How to use this to your advantage? Stay silent. Resist the urge to explain yourself. Let the curiosity brew. It's their turn to stew over what they've lost. Maintain mystery. Don't overpost on social media or give away too much. Let them wonder where you are and what you're doing. Focus on your growth. Use this time to build yourself up. Your progress will only heighten their fascination. In the end, their endless curiosity reflects their missed opportunity and their newfound strength. While they're caught in the spiral of what if, you're busy crafting the next chapter of your life, one where you no longer have to explain your worth. And isn't it funny? The same people who once took you for granted now can't stop thinking about you. Call it irony. Call it justice. Call it the power of your quiet departure. Number 3. Your value becomes amplified. Absence has a way of sharpening focus, of amplifying the worth of what once seemed ordinary. It's a fundamental rule of human psychology. Scarcity creates value. When something becomes harder to attain, its perceived importance skyrockets. And when you remove yourself, your presence, your kindness, your energy from their lives, you don't just leave, you transform. You become the rare gem they never knew they needed until it was gone. The Stoics understood this principle well. They believe that people often fail to appreciate what they have because they assume it will always be there. By stepping back, by removing the constant access they had to you, you teach them the lesson they didn't even know they needed. You are not infinite. Your time, your attention, your care, they're not to be squandered. Think about this. Why do we cherish diamonds? It's not just their brilliance, it's their rarity. The same applies to people. When you're always available, always present, your value can fade into the background. But when you're no longer easily accessible, every memory, every shared laugh, every small kindness becomes magnifying. What was once overlooked now feels irreplaceable. Imagine a medieval kingdom. You, the noble advisor, have always stood by the ruler, offering wisdom and support. Day after day, your presence becomes so routine that it's taken for granted. One day, you quietly step away, leaving the court in silence. At first, there's confusion, then frustration. But as days turn to weeks, they begin to feel the weight of your absence. The wisdom you once offered so freely, now, it's remembered with reverence. The steady hand you provided, now, it's desperately missed. And so, your absence becomes your power, a quiet but undeniable testament to your worth. In the modern world, this dynamic plays out all the time. Maybe you're the friend who always listens, the partner who always goes the extra mile, the colleague who always steps in to help. When you decide to step back, not in anger, but in self-respect, the effect is immediate. Texts go unanswered. Calls go unreturned. Slowly, they start to notice. Wait, why haven't they reached out? Why isn't their usual support there? Suddenly, what they once took for granted feels irreplaceable. Why does amplification matters? Reclaim your worth. Absence gives you space to rebuild your confidence, reminding both you and them that your time and energy are precious. Shift the dynamic. By creating scarcity, you elevate your value, turning ordinary interactions into treasures in hindsight. Teach respect. It's a subtle but powerful way to show that your presence isn't a given, it's a privilege. How to amplify your value effectively? Step back gracefully. Don't leave with drama. Simply withdraw your energy and attention quietly. Be selective moving forward. When you return, offer your time and effort selectively, reinforcing their newfound appreciation. Invest in yourself. Use the distance to grow, to strengthen, to become an even more extraordinary version of yourself. Your value, when amplified through absence, becomes a beacon. It reminds them of what they've lost and reinforces your importance without a single word. This is not manipulation. It's self-respect in action. As your value grows in their eyes, it's not because you've changed, but because they've finally learned to see what was always there. In the end, the scarcity of your presence does what constant availability never could. It elevates you. While they sit in quiet reflection, longing for what they once had, you rise, knowing your worth was never in question. It just needed the space to be recognized. Number 4. A guilt that consumes them. Guilt. That relentless whisper in the back of the mind grows louder, in the silence you've left behind. When a connection breaks and you vanish without a trace, guilt becomes their uninvited guest. It eats away at them, gnaws at their confidence, and forces them to confront uncomfortable truths about their actions, or lack thereof. In the aftermath of your absence, their mind becomes a courtroom, and they are both the defendant and the judge. The questions swirl, incessant and unyielding. What did I do wrong? Was it something I said? Should I have tried harder? Was I the reason they left? Each question digs deeper into their psyche, and each potential answer feels like a blade twisting further. Psychologists refer to this as attributional guilt, where people search for ways they may have contributed to a negative outcome. The more they reflect, the more cracks they find in their behavior. Every moment they dismissed you, every word they spoke too sharply, every effort they failed to appreciate now looms large in their mind. Your silence isn't just absence, it's a mirror, forcing them to confront their shortcomings in stark, unforgiving clarity. Picture this. They replay the last conversation you had, dissecting every word, every tone, every pause. Was I too harsh? Did I miss their needs? Did I take them for granted? They begin to analyze moments that once seemed insignificant. Suddenly, the times they interrupted you, ignored your messages, or failed to reciprocate your kindness become glaring failures in their memory. And the worst part, there's no one to offer reassurance, no one to say, "It's okay, it wasn't your fault." They are left alone with their guilt, and it grows like wildfire. This guilt doesn't just sit quietly, it demands action. Some might attempt to reach out, sending hesitant messages filled with awkward apologies or clumsy attempts to reconnect. Others may retreat, paralyzed by the weight of their regret, unable to face you or themselves. Either way, your absence has sparked a reckoning they can't escape. And here's the kicker. This guilt isn't just about losing you. It's about what your departure represents. It's a reminder of their flaws, their failures, and the ways they fall short, not just with you, but with others. You become a symbol of the consequences they dread most, being left behind because they didn't appreciate what they had. Why their guilt empowers you. It validates your worth. Their guilt is a testament to the value you brought into their life. They wouldn't feel this way if you didn't matter. It shifts the power dynamic. While they spiral in self-recrimination, you've already moved forward, stronger and more self-assured. It forces them to reflect. Your absence becomes a lesson they can't ignore, pushing them to acknowledge and potentially grow from their mistakes. In the end, guilt is their burden to bear, not yours. You don't have to explain, justify, or comfort them. Their feelings are the natural consequence of actions they chose, or failed to choose. While they wrestle with their demons, you stand as a silent reminder of what they lost, a presence so powerful that even your absence leaves a mark. Number 5. A profound and haunting regret. Regret, the cruel companion that arrives too late, whispering truths that hindsight so generously provides. When you step away, it doesn't just leave them with a sense of loss. It leaves them with the realization of everything they once overlooked, dismissed, or undervalued. And now, without you, they see your true worth illuminated in painful clarity. It's a fundamental aspect of human psychology. We only truly understand the value of something after it's gone. A favorite song played too often fades into the background, unnoticed, until it's suddenly removed from the playlist. A comforting routine feels mundane, until it's disrupted. Your presence was that rhythm, that song, that constant in that life. And now, in your absence, the silence becomes deafening. Imagine this. They're sitting in the same cafe where you once shared long conversations. The coffee tastes the same, the atmosphere is unchanged, but something is missing. You. The moments you filled with laughter, insights, or even just comfortable silence now echo with absence. Suddenly, they replay every small interaction, every seemingly trivial moment, and the weight of what they've lost becomes unbearable. Psychologically, regret operates like a magnifying glass. It zooms in on the missed opportunities, and amplifies their emotional significance. The small, kind gestures you once offered, the random check-ins, the thoughtful advice, the support you gave without being asked, now loom large in their mind. They begin to understand that these weren't just casual acts. They were the foundation of something meaningful, something irreplaceable. Their regret isn't just about losing you. It's about what they didn't do when they had the chance. Why didn't I appreciate them more? Why didn't I make more effort? If only I could go back and change things. And this is where the sting lies. Regret is an emotion born from knowing they had the opportunity to do better, to be better, and they let it slip through their fingers. You didn't walk away from them without reason. Whether through neglect, arrogance, or complacency, they contributed to your departure. Now, that realization cuts deeper than any words you could have spoken. How regret elevates you. Your absence becomes your power. By stepping away, you allow them to see your value through the lens of loss. It validates your choice. Their regret reinforces that your departure wasn't just justified, it was necessary. It creates a lesson they can't ignore. They're left to reflect on what they could have done differently, ensuring they won't make the same mistake again, at least not with you. Picture a relatable scenario. A friend constantly canceled plans, assuming you'd always reschedule. One day, you stop trying. Weeks later, they see your social media posts, new adventures, new people, all without them. The regret hits like a wave. They remember the times you waited patiently, the effort you put in, and the easy companionship they once took for granted. And now, they wish they could turn back time. Regret is a relentless teacher, but it comes too late for them, and just in time for you. While they sit with their what-ifs, you're already moving forward, carrying the lessons of your self-worth. They may now realize your value. But the bittersweet truth is that they realized it when it no longer mattered. And that's the power of your absence. It forces them to see what they lost while empowering you to build something better. Number 6. Gentle ways of self-reflection. When you step away, you create more than just physical distance. You create a reflective space, a quiet void where thoughts once drowned out by noise now have room to breathe. This distance becomes a mirror, forcing them to turn inward, to confront not only what they've lost but who they were in the relationship. Psychologically, self-reflection thrives in the absence of distraction. Without the comfort of your presence, they are left alone with their thoughts. At first, they may try to fill the void with denial or blame. But as the dust settles, the stillness compels them to ask the harder questions. Did I truly appreciate them? Was I as present and supportive as I could have been? What part of me contributed to the distance between us? It's in this quiet self-examination that growth begins. They start to uncover their flaws, the times they might have taken you for granted, or the patterns of behavior that may have pushed you away. It's not always a pleasant process, but it's a necessary one. Consider this. In a calm pond, the water's surface is so still you can see your reflection. But when the water is stirred, by drama, by noise, by constant activity, it becomes murky and impossible to see what lies beneath. Your absence stills their waters, revealing truths they might have avoided for years. This reflection isn't always immediate. It might come in moments of unexpected quiet, while they're driving alone, walking through a familiar park, or flipping through photos that bring back memories of you. These glimpses of self-awareness aren't loud. They're subtle, like the gentle lapping of waves on a shore, but their impact can be profound. How this benefits you. Shifting accountability. Your absence removes you as a scapegoat, forcing them to take ownership of their actions, or lack thereof. Encouraging growth. If they're willing to face their shortcomings, this reflection could spark meaningful change, not necessarily for you, but for them. Reaffirming your strength. Their introspection validates that your departure wasn't just an escape, it was a boundary that demanded respect. Picture a romantic relationship where one partner constantly dismissed your concerns, brushing them off as not a big deal. When you finally step away, the silence is deafening. In that space, they replay those moments in their mind and begin to see them differently. They notice the tone of their voice, the way your face fell when they dismissed your feelings, and the effort you made to bridge the gaps. It dawns on them that their casual disregard had deeper consequences than they realized. Self-reflection doesn't always lead to apologies or reconnections, and that's okay. Its real power lies in its ability to illuminate truths, both for them and for you. While they reflect on what they might have done differently, you gain clarity on what you deserve moving forward. In this dance of distance and self-awareness, your absence becomes a quiet catalyst for their growth and your empowerment. You've given them the greatest gift a person can offer, the opportunity to see themselves more clearly, to learn and, perhaps, to become better. And whether or not they return, you've already won, because your choice to step back has reaffirmed your value and reminded you of the strength within. Number 7. The fear of being replaced. In the quiet absence you've left behind, there's another feeling that begins to creep into their mind: fear. Not just any fear, but the visceral, almost primal fear of being replaced. Humans are territorial by nature, especially when it comes to relationships. The idea that someone else could take the space they once occupied in your life becomes an unsettling possibility that they can't ignore. Behavioral psychology reveals that people have an innate fear of losing their unique place in someone else's life. When you were present, they may have assumed that space was theirs, unquestioned and secure. But now, with you gone, the certainty fades. The thought of you moving forward, growing, and perhaps welcoming someone else into your world ignites a deep sense of vulnerability. The questions they avoid asking themselves out loud become persistent whispers. Have they moved on? Is someone else receiving their kindness, attention, or love? Am I now replaceable? This fear isn't just about you finding someone new. It's about them losing the influence, attention, and connection they once held. The thought of you thriving, laughing, or loving without them doesn't just sting. It's a blow to their ego, their sense of importance, and their place in the story. Here's the truth. By stepping back, you've already shifted the power dynamic. They once took for granted the exclusivity of their role in your life. Now, their imagination fills in the blanks your absence creates, often with worst-case scenarios. And the best part? You don't even need to confirm or deny anything. Your silence is louder than any explanation. Imagine a friendship where you are always the one reaching out, planning hangouts, or offering support. One day you stop. A few weeks later, they see a photo of you on social media, smiling, surrounded by new people, perhaps even glowing with newfound energy. That single image sets off a storm in their mind. Who are these people? Are they replacing me? Do they make them laugh the way I used to? The fear that someone else has taken their place makes them realize how little effort they put into keeping it. How this fear benefits you. Reinforces your value. Their fear of being replaced confirms that your presence was meaningful and not easily forgotten. Shift the narrative. You're no longer the one seeking connection. They're now the ones fearing its loss. Empowers your growth. While they wrestle with their insecurity, you're free to focus on building new, enriching relationships and experiences. Fear of replacement is a wake-up call. It forces them to confront the reality that relationships require effort, and that your presence twice a privilege, not a guarantee. Whether it's a friend, a partner, or even a colleague, this realization often sparks a desire to reconnect, but on your terms. In the end, the possibility of being replaced forces them to acknowledge something they may have denied all along. You are irreplaceable. And while they stew in their fear, you've already stepped into a brighter, bolder version of yourself, one that no one else can replicate. Because here's the truth, your value isn't defined by who's in your life. It's defined by the light you bring to it. Number 8. the anger of losing control. At this point, the storm in their mind has reached its peak. The void you left behind has unsettled them, sparked endless curiosity, amplified your value, and stirred deep regret. They've reflected on their shortcomings and faced the terrifying thought of being replaced. And now, as the pieces of this emotional puzzle come together, another feeling emerges: anger. But this isn't the anger of love or loss. It's the anger of losing control. Humans, by nature, crave a sense of dominance over their environment, including their relationships. When you were present, they likely felt secure in their influence over you, whether they realized it or not. They believed they could predict your actions, your feelings, and even your responses. But your decision to step away, to vanish without a word, shattered that illusion. Suddenly, they're confronted with a reality they didn't prepare for. You are beyond their reach, and worse, beyond their control. This loss of control isn't just unsettling, it's infuriating. They're no longer the center of your world, and they don't know how to process that. Anger becomes their way of coping. But let's be clear, this isn't the kind of anger born from love or longing. It's the bitterness of someone who has lost the ability to dictate terms. They may think, how dare they leave without explanation? Why didn't I see this coming? How can they just walk away like I don't matter? It's not about missing you. It's about missing the power they once felt over your connection. Your absence becomes a stark reminder that they don't control your actions, your emotions, or your choices. And for someone used to holding the reins, this realization can be maddening. This anger, however misguided, is a powerful sign of your independence. It proves that you've reclaimed your narrative. You're no longer playing by their rules, and that shift unsettles them in ways they didn't anticipate. It's a moment of reckoning where they're forced to acknowledge that their influence over you is never as strong as they believed. Their anger often masks deeper insecurities. They might lash out, internally or externally, not because they truly resent you, but because they resent the power you've taken back. It's a defensive response to the reality that they are no longer in control of the dynamic. And the harder they try to regain control, the more they realize it's slipping further away. How this benefits you: reclaims your autonomy. Their frustration is proof that you've broken free from their influence. Reinforces your boundaries. By stepping back, you've shown that you will no longer tolerate unhealthy power dynamics. Shifts the focus. While they grapple with their loss of control, you're free to focus on your growth and happiness. This moment of anger ties together everything they've been feeling up to this point. The emptiness, the curiosity, the regret, the fear. It all culminates in the realization that they can no longer predict or influence your actions. And as they sit with that realization, they begin to understand something profound. You've evolved into a force they can't contain, and that, more than anything else, is what makes them angry. Their loss of control doesn't diminish your value, it amplifies it. Because now they see you for what you truly are, not a possession, not a shadow, but a powerful individual who moves forward, not by their permission, but by your own choice. Number 9. The unexpected respect. Something fascinating happens in the absence of your presence. The emotions they've been grappling with, curiosity, regret, and even anger, begin to shift into something unexpected: respect. Without the distraction of familiarity, they start to see you for who you truly are, a person of strength, independence, and unshakable resolve. And this revelation often catches them by surprise. Relationship psychology reveals that absence doesn't just make the heart grow fonder, it often makes the mind clearer. When someone is always present, their strengths can blend into the background, overlooked or undervalued. But when that presence is withdrawn, the clarity of what they brought to the table comes into sharp focus. They begin to reflect on your ability to step away with dignity, on your refusal to be swayed by drama, and on the boundaries you set. These qualities, often dismissed at the moment, now stand out as markers of someone who commands admiration. You're no longer just there for them. You've become a symbol of self-respect and independence, someone who cannot be controlled or easily influenced. What they began to realize: they didn't leave in anger, they left with purpose. It takes incredible strength to walk away like that. I underestimated their resilience and independence. This respect doesn't come from pity or longing. It comes from recognition. They see your ability to prioritize your well-being over their expectations. They understand that your decision wasn't about them. It was about you valuing yourself enough to step away. Imagine a workplace dynamic where you're a reliable coworker, always cleaning up others' messes, and taking on extra responsibilities without complaint. One day, you decide to stop. You don't make a scene. You simply focus on your tasks and let others handle theirs. At first, there's confusion and perhaps frustration. But as the days pass, your colleagues start to realize just how much you are holding things together. Suddenly, your professionalism, dedication, and quiet strength command a level of respect they never expressed when you were constantly available. Why this respect matters: it validates your independence. Their newfound admiration reinforces that stepping away was the right choice. It changes the narrative. You're no longer seen as someone dependent on their approval. You're seen as someone who stands strong on your own. It strengthens your position. This respect often leads them to reevaluate how they treat you, making future interactions more balanced and healthy. Respect born from absence isn't just a reflection of your strength. It's a tool for empowerment. It shifts the dynamic in your favor, creating a foundation where future interactions, if any, are based on mutual understanding and appreciation. It also reminds you of your worth, reaffirming that you don't need to stay in any relationship, romantic, platonic, or professional, that doesn't align with your values. As they sit with this unexpected respect, they begin to understand what they failed to see before. You're not someone to be taken lightly or taken for granted. Your strength is no longer a quiet background hum. It's a resounding anthem. Whether they act on this realization or simply carry it as a lesson is irrelevant. What matters is that you've shown them, without words, what it means to live with integrity and self-respect. And that, above all, commands the kind of respect they never expected to feel. Number 10. The ache of missing you and the weight of loss. As the storm of emotion swirls within them, curiosity, regret, anger, and reluctant respect, there's one feeling that settles in, quiet but persistent: they miss you. This isn't just a fleeting pang of longing. It's a deep ache, born from the realization that your absence isn't just physical. It's the absence of a connection they once had, one they may never experience again in the same way. Human memory has a way of romanticizing the past, especially when that past is out of reach. The mundane moments, the laughter over an inside joke, the comfort of your presence during hard times, the warmth of your kindness, suddenly take on new meaning. Those once overlooked details now play on repeat in their mind, sharper and more vivid than ever before. Your voice, your smile, your way of making them feel seen, it all becomes a refrain they can't escape. And here's the cruel twist: they didn't notice these things when they had them. It's only in your absence that they start to see the beauty in the moments they once dismissed. It's only now, when they can no longer reach out and hear your voice, that they realize how much they crave it. The sense of loss isn't just about missing you. It's about the void you've left behind. You aren't just a person in their life. You are a connection, a bridge to something meaningful. And now, with that connection severed, they're left standing on the other side, looking at the space where you used to be. They might think, "I miss the way they used to listen without judgment. I miss their laugh. It felt like home. How did I not see what I had until it was gone?" The regret deepens, but it's tinged with helplessness. Because no matter how much they miss you, they know that what they've lost may not return. And that realization, that their actions, or lack of action, contributed to this loss, becomes a quiet, haunting truth. Think of an old friend who used to be a constant in your life, someone who always showed up for you, even when you didn't always reciprocate. One day, they quietly fade away. At first, you might not notice. But then something triggers a memory, a photo, a song, a place you used to go together, and suddenly, the loss hits you. You remember their kindness, their support, and the way they made you feel understood. And you ache, not just for them, but for the part of you that only existed in their presence. Why this loss matters? It validates your impact. Their longing proves that your presence left a mark so deep that your absence now defines it. It teaches them a lesson. This ache is a reminder for them to value connections in the future before they're lost. It strengthens your self-worth. Knowing that you are someone worth missing reaffirms your value, even if they failed to see it in time. There's a deep sadness in their loss, but it's not your sadness to carry. This is their burden, the natural consequence of taking something extraordinary for granted. While they sit with the ache of what was, you're free to move forward, carrying the lessons of your resilience and self-respect. In the end, their longing isn't just for you. It's for the person they were when they were with you. And that's the most bittersweet truth of all. They don't just miss you. They miss the version of themselves they could only find in your light. But now, that light shines elsewhere, and the shadow of what they've lost lingers behind. A quiet reminder of the value you always carried, even when they didn't see it. Number 11. A shift in perspective. When you step away, you don't just leave a physical void, you leave a lens behind, one through which they begin to see you differently. In the quiet absence, their view of you sharpens, revealing details they once overlooked or dismissed. What was once familiar now feels remarkable. What was once taken for granted now feels irreplaceable. This shift in perspective isn't immediate, but when it arrives, it hits with the clarity of hindsight. Human beings are often blinded by familiarity. When you're always present, your qualities, your kindness, intelligence, resilience, can blend into the background. But when you're gone, their mind starts to fill in the gaps, and those gaps are colored by memory. Psychologically, this phenomenon is known as retrospective glorification, a tendency to idealize what is no longer available. The same person who once dismissed your insights or failed to notice your quiet strength now replays those moments in their mind, each one growing more significant. They begin to ask themselves, how did I not see how patient they were? They always handled things with such grace. I should have appreciated that more. They brought a calmness and understanding into my life that no one else does. This shift is profound because it forces them to confront their blindness. They're not just mourning your absence. They're mourning the version of you they failed to fully appreciate. It's not that you've changed their mind. It's that their perspective has evolved. Your kindness, strength, and individuality, once lost in the noise of their distractions, now stand in stark relief against the backdrop of your absence. This change in perspective isn't just about regret. It's about respect. They begin to understand that you weren't just a supporting character in their story. You were a force of your own, someone with qualities that deserve recognition and admiration. Imagine a colleague who always delivered results, stayed calm under pressure, and treated everyone with respect. Their quiet competence often went unnoticed in the chaos of deadlines and office politics. But one day, they leave for a better opportunity. Weeks later, the team starts to feel their absence. Meetings become more chaotic, deadlines harder to meet, and the once overlooked contribution of that colleague now feels monumental. They realize too late how vital that person was. How this shift empowers you. It reaffirms your strengths. Their realization of your value validates what you've known all along. You bring something extraordinary to the table. It changes the narrative. You're no longer defined by how they treated you, but by how they now view you, as someone worthy of admiration and respect. It liberates you. Their changed perspective allows you to move forward without regret, knowing that your worth is finally recognized, even if it's too late for them. As they reflect, they come to see the version of you that was always there, but often overlooked. This shift in perspective is not your responsibility to create. It's a natural consequence of your strength, independence, and decision to step away. While they sit with the weight of this newfound clarity, you're already moving forward unburdened. In the end, this shift isn't just about how they see you, it's about how you've redefined yourself in their absence. And perhaps the most powerful part of this transformation is this: while their perspective of you has changed, your perspective of yourself has only grown stronger. You've always known your worth, now they do too. Number 12. The burning desire to reconnect. After everything, the emptiness, the regret, the anger, the reflection, and the shifting perspective, comes the most potent realization of all. They want you back. This isn't a casual thought or fleeting whim. It's a deep, almost primal need to restore what was lost, to rebuild the connection that now feels more valuable than ever before. Your absence hasn't just left a void. It has created a longing so intense that they begin to question everything. How can I win them back? What can I change to be worthy of them again? Distance has a paradoxical effect on relationships. While it creates space for reflection and self-awareness, it also intensifies the yearning to close the gap. Behavioral psychology tells us that humans crave what they can no longer have. The harder something is to attain, the more valuable it becomes. And now, you are no longer easily accessible. You are no longer a given. You are a challenge, a prize, a dream worth pursuing. This longing isn't just about missing your presence. It's about wanting the chance to rewrite the story, to undo the mistakes, and to prove that they can be better. Your absence has transformed you from someone they knew to someone they now deeply admire, someone whose standards they aspire to meet. They begin to strategize, crafting imaginary conversations and scenarios where they make amends. They might think, what can I say to make them understand I've changed? If I had another chance, I would never take them for granted again. How do I show them that I am worthy of their time, their respect, their trust? This desire to reconnect isn't just about regaining you. It's about proving something to themselves. It's about rising to the level they believe you deserve. Why this desire is powerful? It validates your growth. Their longing to reconnect is proof that your choice to step away wasn't just impactful. It was transformative. It puts you in control. You now hold the cards. Whether or not they get another chance depends entirely on your terms, your boundaries, and your willingness to allow them back into your life. It demonstrates their realization. This isn't about them wanting what they had. It's about them wanting what they've now lost and fully appreciating its worth. How they might act. They might send you tentative messages, testing the waters to see if you're open to reconnecting. They may try to prove themselves through actions, small gestures, apologies, or visible self-improvement. They could even reach out directly, admitting their faults and expressing a genuine desire to rebuild the relationship. But here's the truth. This moment isn't about them. It's about you. Their desire to reconnect may be strong, but it's your life, your standards, and your growth that matter most. You're no longer the same person who is willing to compromise or accept less than you deserve. If you choose to let them back in, it will be on your terms, not theirs. As they wrestle with their desire to reconnect, you stand as the embodiment of strength, self-respect, and growth. They now see you not as someone they once knew, but as someone they aspire to deserve. Whether or not you choose to reconnect, you've already won. You've redefined the dynamic, claimed your worth, and reminded them, and yourself, that you are irreplaceable. In the end, their longing to reconnect isn't just a testament to what you meant to them. It's a reflection of the power you gained by stepping away. And that power is yours to keep. Conclusion. Your disappearance was never about vanishing, it was about revealing. It was about stepping back to let the silence speak louder than words, to let the distance refrain not just how others see you, but how you see yourself. The reactions you provoke, their curiosity, their regret, their longing to reconnect, are not just about you. They're about the undeniable value you bring into any relationship, the value that shines brightest in its absence. The Stoics teach us that control begins within. By choosing to walk away, you didn't lose control. You reclaimed it. You reminded yourself, and them, that your presence is not a given, that your time and energy are sacred. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." Your departure isn't an act of vengeance. It's a testament to your strength, dignity, and refusal to settle for less than you deserve. The final lesson. Your disappearance was a mirror, reflecting not just what they lost but the power of your choice to step away. It wasn't an end, it was a beginning. A beginning for you to grow, to evolve, and to show that true strength lies not in clinging, but in letting go. Ask yourself, have you ever experienced these reactions from someone you stepped away from? And what did you discover about yourself in the process? If this message resonates with you, take a moment to like, subscribe, and share. Together, let's continue to grow the Victory Stoic community, spreading the wisdom of resilience, self-worth, and unshakable strength. The final thought. Happiness and self-respect don't come from chasing others or trying to force connections. They come from knowing your value, standing firm in your choices, and embodying the principles of inner strength. Your absence isn't just a void, it's a statement. A declaration of who you are, what you stand for, and what you refuse to accept. So walk with confidence, embrace the silence, and let your actions, not your words, remind the world of your worth.